Today we are going to do the reader problems tag. Hi, my name is Jeanette and I want to thank you for joining me on the channel Jane Reads. Today we are going to do the reader problems tag. I was tagged to do this video by Katie and I actually filmed a different video just yesterday for like kind of the next scheduled video to go up, and then I was tagged by this one today and I'm like, oh, I like this questions. And she was drinking coffee in that because it was like a sponsorship video for coffee. And I just love coffee. And it was like, oh, I can't wait to watch this. So I'm like, okay, but Katie and I don't really have the same coffee preferences. I like iced coffee, but I prefer hot coffee. And I am a black coffee drinker. I don't want it sweet. So, yeah. But that's okay. We can agree to disagree, right? Okay, so I'm just gonna jump right into the questions. Other than watching her video today at lunch when I was on my lunch break, I watched it and I haven't really given a lot of thought to these questions. I haven't pulled any books, so if I have to talk about a book, I will be grabbing one. Okay, so question number 1 is, you have 20,000 books on your TBR. How in the world do you decide what to read next? Whew, okay, well, thankfully I do not have 20,000 books on my TBR. I actually was just telling my friend that I have 102 books currently on my TBR owned list. I have more on my wish list, and that does not include any of the want to reread books. So I mean, I have a few on TBR options. So the way I decide what I'm going to read next is really my TBR game. I spin the wheel and then I use that prompt to decide what I'm going to be reading next, and I am kind of a stickler as that's what I'm reading, so I will read. Normally, I will read them in order of the wheel prompts come up. So the first book, I'll read it first. The second book, I'll read it second, right? The last 2 months, I don't know, for some reason, I have been reading backwards. So I've read book 6 first, and then book 5, and then book 4. I don't know. Just very interested with that 6th book, I guess. So really, but that's kind of, even before I started the TBR game, I really would make a list of the priorities that I wanted to read, and I always had like a TBR list going, and I would just kind of, as I thought of another book I wanted to read, I added it to the bottom of the list and kept going. So usually there was kind of, I would say 6 to 8 books kind of on that list all the time, and just, I don't know. I want to say, like, I'm not particularly a mood reader. I think my biggest thing is when I finish the list and I look and I'm like, okay, what do I want to read now? I need some help choosing because I have a few options. So, yeah. So the TBR game has been great for that, and that's what I do. Okay, question number 2 is, you're halfway through a book and you're just not loving it. Do you quit or are you committed? Well, I am not good at DNFing, so I'm committed. I always kind of like, is it going to get better? I hope it's going to get better. I always give it the benefit of the doubt that it's going to get better. So I let it go. I keep going. I don't like not finishing. I have DNF'd a couple books, and I mean, one of them I was probably almost halfway through when I DNF'd it. I just had no desire to read it, and it was really, it's the only time I really remember kind of being in a reading slump and being like, I just don't want to, because I am not a multiple books at once person. So I wasn't enjoying the book and I was struggling with it, and it was like, no, I'm done. I can't do this. And then the other book that I DNF'd was due to language and content. And in that case, I will DNF a book because, yeah, I'm pretty picky, and Yeah, I want what's going into my brain to be good. Okay, so number 3. The end of the year is coming and you're so close, but so far away on your Goodreads goal. Do you try to catch up? If so, how? Okay, well, there's a couple years that I've set my goal because I try to set it kind of what I really think I will do. So, kind of, it's always averaged between 75 to 100, give or take. There are a couple years when I'm going back and like, I didn't meet it. And it was like, but a lot of people I've heard say like, well, set your goal and then just change it when you get closer to it. And I'm like, I don't like that. I don't know. I just, yeah. So sometimes I've met it and sometimes I haven't. Last year, my goal was 75. I met it because I read 109. So I set my goal for 98 this year because I knew I wouldn't have as much time to read. But I'm already a book ahead of my goal at this point in time. Who knows what the rest of the year is going to be like. But yeah, I look at it, but I don't pay that much attention to it, and it doesn't force me to read or not read, right? Okay. Question number 4. The cover of a series you love do not match. How do you cope? I try not to let it bother me. I have a series that doesn't match. I don't know if you can see. They're not even the same height. But this one, very black glossy, matte, and big green. Like, what? Like, they don't go together at all. But I don't know if I just didn't buy them at the same time or what happened. But they sit on my shelf, and I mean, it doesn't bother me because they're like this on my shelf, right? At least the spines match. But yeah, it doesn't really bother me. And however, I do like to have them similar. Like, I have the 2 hardcover copies of Irene Hannon's Triple Threat series, and when I buy book number 3, I will be looking to get the hardcover copy so that the whole set matches. So, I mean, I do care, but I'm not fussy. I'm not going to go and spend, like, overpriced on a book just to get a matching version. Okay, number 5. Everyone and their mother loves a book you really don't like. Who do you bond with over shared feelings? I don't really. I don't know. I'll talk to my best friend about it and kind of say like, but like, this is what I didn't like about it. But everybody else seems to. But we have very similar tastes, so I don't know if we've ever really disagreed on a book per se. So I would say that's probably, or I just don't, it doesn't bother me because everybody has their own taste, and if you loved it, good for you. Just doesn't, maybe I didn't like it. I'm okay with agreeing to disagree. Okay, so number 6. You're reading a book and you're about to start crying in public. How do you feel? I put the book away. I do not want to cry in public. Thankfully, I don't normally cry in books. It takes a lot to make me cry in a book. And kind of, I can tell if it's going to start getting really emotional, so I wouldn't be reading that in public. But yeah, I do not want to be crying in public. I mean, who really does want to be, right? But I'm not really reading in public a lot, so I think I'm pretty safe. Okay, number 7. A sequel of a book you loved just came out, but you've forgotten a lot from the prior novel. Will you reread the book, skip the sequel, try to find a synopsis on Goodreads, or cry out in frustration? I think if you've watched my channel a bit, you'll probably kind of know what my answer is. I know my BFF will automatically say, she'll reread the book. Yes, I will reread the book. In fact, I'm planning on rereading the whole series of Hope Harbor, of what, like, I've read books 1 and 5, but I am going to reread 1 to 5 so that I can read 6, 7, and 8 and 9 when it releases. Because I've read it years ago. It does not stay in my mind. I forget easily. And I think that's because I read so many books, and I don't know. Yeah. No, I am definitely a rereader, but I also, if I know a series is coming out and is going to be multiple books, I will hold off on reading book 1, book 2, so that I can binge read the whole series all at once when they're all released. I know that's weird too, but yeah. Okay, number 8. You do not want anyone borrowing your books. How do you politely tell people no when they ask? I don't have a problem lending my books out to people. But I think that's because kind of everybody I have loaned my books out to people, well, not everybody, but majority of people I've loaned my books out to, I know how they take care, and they're lending me books. So if they're lending me books, I would feel like I can't say no to you because you just gave me a book to read, so I gotta give you a book to read if you want to. I have lent out a book once to somebody and never got it back. And it was part of a series. So that hurts. But I'm pretty sure, yes, it was book number 4 of the series. So I still have 1, 2, and 3. So it's not like I'm missing a middle, right? So I'm like, okay. And when that series was re-released a few years later, it was only released as a 3-book series. And the 4th was released as a standalone. So I'm kind of like, okay, I feel okay that my series feels complete because I have 1 to 3. But yeah, but that's really an exception. Other times I don't have a problem lending it out to you because I know you're going to take care of it, or I'm just not that attached to it. Like, I remember somebody borrowing one of my books once, and it was a mass market paperback size, and they broke the spine. And it was like, but I mean, I totally understand because of the size of the book, like it was kind of a chunker, and you're trying to read and in the margin, like I totally get it. It happens. I'll get over it. I'm not that attached to them, so yeah. Number 9, you've picked up and put down 5 books in the last month. How do you get over your reading slump? I've never really experienced a reading slump like that. I don't know. I don't feel, I don't feel like my day is complete if I don't read before bed. Like, it can be a chapter, 2 chapters usually, but I just don't feel like my day's complete if I haven't read. But my automatic thought is, if I'm really like had bad luck on 5 books in a row and not enjoying it and have no desire to read, I think my solution would be to reread our favorite and kind of rediscover the joy of reading, right? And kind of pick up something you know you're going to enjoy. But I mean, I haven't really. Kind of all my books end up on my TBR list because I want to read them for a reason. So something drew me into them. So if I've had 5 bad selections in a row, I start to really wonder about my buying habits. So, yeah. Okay, number 10. There are so many new books coming out that you're dying to read. How many do you actually buy? I don't tend to buy brand new releases very often. I have pre-ordered a couple books, but I pre-ordered them on my Kindle, on a sale or knowing that I'm going to get a discounted price. I'm how do I say this? I am frugal, I am thrifty, I am cheap. I cannot. I'm on a budget. I cannot justify spending $20 on a book that I'm going to read in a week or less. I just can't do it. I'd go broke. So I always look for a Kindle sale or a physical sale, whatever. And I check thrift stores and look, or I wait till I find it for a good deal. I have enough books to choose from. I'm not desperate for them. And I have just discovered a new resource for Christian fiction, which could be somewhat dangerous. I have access to a library that is just Christian fiction. So there's a few options in there that I don't have to buy if I want to read them. Just today, actually, I saw probably 5 that I want to add to my want to read list, or I already have on my want to read list, but I don't own. So, yeah. Okay, number 11. After you've bought the new books, you can't wait to get to them. How long do they sit on your shelves before you actually do get to them? Sometimes a couple years, 4 years, 5 years. Especially for my Kindle, I'm much better at physical. But for my Kindle books, I have a lot of books on my Kindle that I bought in 2016, 2017, 2018. That is actually one of the things that I am tracking on my reading spreadsheet this year is when I acquired the book that I just read. And just I'm curious of how long some books have been sitting. So did I get the book in 2016, 2017, so on? Or is it unknown? I don't have a purchase date for it. Because on my TBR, like on my owned books list, I write down when I acquired the book. So if I don't have a date on there, that means I bought it quite a while ago. So yeah, I would say probably the average is maybe a couple years, maybe. I can think of, like, there's books, I mean, these ones I bought last March. This one I bought 2017 or 2018, somewhere in there. That's the same. I mean, most of my physical ones are 2022. But if I look at my Kindle, it's probably 19, 20 kind of thing. So I don't really know. So they tend to sit for a little while, unless I am like extremely excited about it and can't wait to get to it. Or if it's like, you know, the 3rd book of the series. Oh, I finally have the series. Now I can read the whole thing. So, yeah. That is definitely a reader problem, right? Okay, so, that was the last question. So now I'm tag a couple people. So I am going to tag Book Lover Amanda and Stacy from Wandering with Stacy. Yeah, so those are the 2 I'm going to tag. And thank you, Katie, for tagging me in this video because I really enjoyed it. This was fun to do, just very relaxed, informal, and just randomly talking about books. So I hope you enjoyed this video, and I'd love to chat in the comments below. If you want to answer, just pick one of the questions to answer and put your answer in the comments, and I'd love to just chat with you. Thank you for watching. Have a good day. Bye.